Alright, this next song is called Reach. Time to tune down. This tuning is D-A-D-G-A-D. I just call it Dad Dad. Yeah, that was a little bit more slower, kind of pretty stuff. I'll get into more of a funky groove now. Now that I got this low, more upbeat tuning going on. The whole tuning process can be quite annoying though. Alright, next song I have for you today is, well, I was wired on coffee when I wrote this one at 6 in the morning. So, well, this one's called Good Morning Funky Fresh. This next song is called Scorched by the Sun. It's actually dedicated to this last summer. We had a couple days there where it was just nuts. But anyways, I guess the song speaks for itself. Everybody's experienced those days. Anyways, Scorched by the Sun. we have the time. Two more?
One more?
One more?
One more, I guess.
Okay, I'll do one more. I actually have this mediocre kind of video online on YouTube. It's a song I did in the kitchen. We had a whole bunch of mattresses around me like this, and you can see the cupboards and probably the oven in that video. Anyways, that was of this song here, which is called Epiphany.
To Live from the Living Room. On today's episode, we have Matt O'Connell with us. Fantastic episode. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
It is a first for Live from the Living Room. That was a complete instrumental set, and it was incredible. It sounded like you had two guitars and a guy on a drum box going at the same time. Like that's a lot of talent.
I appreciate that. Thanks, man.
So, you only do instrumental. Is that you don't like singing, or do you just love the sound of the instrument doing what it can do?
A little bit of both. I notice when I talk, I'm a very monotone, very boring voice, deep voice kind of thing. So I tried singing, and it almost comes out the same way through a microphone. So it's definitely something I could use to my advantage for singing. But as for the instrumental stuff goes, I love the instrumental, the fact that you could tell a story, and the fact that the guitar can speak for itself in that aspect. So that's why I mainly stick to instrumentals. It's just nice to get a story in, kind of make it speak for itself.
For sure. And you have a specific way of how you say what you do. You mentioned it right off the hop. Say it again, because I'm just going to mess it up.
What part?
The style of guitar you play.
Oh yes, percussive finger style.
Yeah.
Is a more simpler way of putting it, I guess.
Oh, it sounds incredible though.
Yeah.
So what influenced you to get into that specific style of guitar? As you were learning, you just kind of excelled at that, so you kept going?
In one way, yes. I got my first acoustic guitar about 14 years ago now, and I just learned my basic chords, stuff like that, and I never really did much covers. A lot of times I would just, I love to write my own music just to kind of see what I can do with it and what I can kind of get out of my head. Then as the years went on, I just kept hearing these sounds in my head. Okay, how could I put that onto the guitar? And then I found some artists that like to drum on their guitar at the same time, had the whole bass thing going. I was like, what if I could do that, but through the whole song? Like have this bass and snare hits and stuff like that. And I started discovering artists like Andy McKee, Antoine Dufour, and artists like that. I started looking into their influences, their heroes, and Michael Hedges, Don Ross, artists like that. And I was just like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I would spend 6 hours just listening to their music. And okay, now I need to try to do this kind of thing on my guitar, but in my own way.
Right on.
And then, yeah.
Do you find that in the digital age we're in now that provides like a plethora of different musicians that you can draw influence from? I know when I was growing up, you didn't have that opportunity. You know, you had the radio or much music, and you just had pop culture or nothing. And now with Spotify, you can find all sorts of crazy bands that just do instrumental stuff and really can find stuff that works for what you're doing.
A lot of times you could there's also artists that kind of take something that's completely has nothing to do with that style of music, and they find a way to find all the sounds that they do, and they make that style of music with another,
right,
I guess you can say. But it's definitely helpful with platforms like YouTube, Spotify, all these music platforms to discover artists. And I think it would be a lot harder without it, say just a radio or any kind of basic music platform.
So being pretty far from the mainstream, because instrumental music doesn't exactly sell a lot of records even still, do you find that Spotify, which I've had just mixed feelings from pretty much every artist that I've talked to, do you find that it's a benefit because it allows you to expose yourself to much more specific types of artists and instead of whatever is on the mainstream?
Well, it's hard to say. It has its perks, but it also has its cons. Because albums, for example, they don't make as much of a profit or an impact, I guess I could say, as they used to. Now that you have all those platforms,
just download the single.
Yeah, pretty much, say $1 a piece or whatnot. But no, it definitely still helps out the artist to go and buy an album, but it's just so easy to go on to Spotify or iTunes, Google Play, and just buy it one by one. But at the same time, it's a lot better for an independent artist.
It's a way to get your name out there.
Yeah.
In ways that you didn't have 10 years ago.
It's a lot more one-on-one, I find, nowadays with the whole do-it-yourself attitude on the music.
Right. So kind of switching gears a little bit, do you play in any bands, or have you been approached to play in any bands, and that's just not something you want to do, or are you doing that?
I currently am in a band. It's one extreme to the next. I do this, and I'm in a melodic death metal band called Archanger.
Okay.
They're a local band here in town, so yeah, one extreme to the next.
Well, I would argue that heavy metal, because that's where I grew up with. I was into the 80s thrash metal, and
Nice.
British new wave is what I grew up on. And so the intricacy that goes into that type of music often is closer to classical music than it is pop rock or anything like that. So I would argue that that's a not really a big departure. And is that why you kind of find a home there as well? It's just like it allows you to really explore the instrument?
Yeah, the whole metal thing is more getting the aggression out and stuff like that, and I like the heaviness, the energy, and all that, and then going over to this, metal gave me a challenge, but this was pretty much a new challenge, this percussive fingerstyle thing. So I'm like, wow, that's like some of the stuff I was trying to do at my early stages there. I couldn't do it, but I just kept hearing the noises in my head, and I just had to get it on there. It was a new challenge, and it did. It challenged me, and it progressed me a lot.
Right on. So out of every show that you've gone to, I like to ask this question. It's always interesting because of the broad answers I get. But is there one concert or one musician that you saw at some point in your life, you're like, this is it. This is where I want to go. What is that?
I can't name the artist because it was so long ago. I was maybe 11, 12 years old. It was when Warp 9 was still around, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I went to go see a show there. My dad took me to go see this show. And I was kind of on the side balcony up top watching this, and I was just like, wow, it's so loud, it's so energetic, and this is awesome. It was like a punk band, I think it was. Can't remember the name or the artist, but I looked up on stage, and they were just they're all over the place, having a good time, and it looked like a lot of fun. So I was like, I need to get a bass guitar or something, because that's where I started, actually. I liked the bass guitar, and then I played drums for a little bit, and I was like, well, I need something that hooked on to what I was craving, you know what I mean? And the guitar provided me with that. But I can't name the artist that got me into it. I can't.
Well, whoever he is, he's pretty special.
I guess, yeah. They are, and yeah, there's a lot of good shows I've been to in my life, though.
So walk me through the emotions, I guess, that you put in or feel, or I guess get consumed with when you're playing the acoustic as opposed to in a metal band. You mentioned aggression, but
yeah, the aggression doesn't really give you the butterflies that this kind of music provided for me.
Right, and you have some slower stuff, but you got a lot of that funk too, but there's a lot going on. Like keeping track of that, like that's pretty complex riffs you're playing and intertwining with the tapping and everything else.
The secret behind that actually is I try to find one thing. Just start off simple, that's catchy. Say like a lead or something you would regularly play at home. You find something catchy and it's like, well, I got all these free fingers going on here. Where can I put the bass line in with that lead? And just kind of tap it wherever if it sounds good. And then I just somehow figure out a way to kind of hit the bass note and the bass drum at the same time. It kind of like opens it all up. It kind of writes itself, I guess. But
and when you're writing music, you mentioned the one about the scorching weather we had last summer. Is it generally feelings or specific scenarios that lead you to writing a song, or is it kind of just you start playing with a melody and then it kind of turns into something that reminds you of something else?
Well, that song actually came straight from a feeling I had that brought me back to this one day where I was working construction, and we were down in this hole, kind of doing our job or whatnot, and there was no breeze, no nothing. And that day hit about minus 37 or plus 37, sorry. And not even water could help that. We were just, trying our best to just make it through that day, taking as much breaks as we could. And that's pretty much what inspired that song. Just the angst and the unforgivingness in that gave me that feeling to write that song.
Right on. So where are you headed now? Like, what's the next step for you?
Just keep writing. I bought my own bunch of recording software. Gonna try that out, get some recordings out there, and I know a good group of people there that can help out with music videos or whatnot, and the mastering is going to be another challenge for me, because it's going to try the whole do-it-yourself angle with this, but just keep writing, recording, get an album out there hopefully in the next year or so. It's going to be a long process, and just keep building experience with live performances and whatnot.
You mentioned they're a little bit nerve-wracking at times still.
They are, yeah. Doesn't seem like it goes away. Every time the eyes are on you, it just it brings in that feeling of nervousness, shakiness, but it will taper down and go away, I'm sure.
Do you ever find that it's a little bit easier doing your original stuff than it would be a cover?
Well, it's hard to say, because with a cover, it's already there for you. But the thing is it has its own, hard parts and easy parts and whatnot, and it's definitely harder with they having their own style, their own skill level, and doing a cover. I guess that would be the hard part about that.
That's a question that I ask every once in a while, mainly because a band that we have on the show that we're going to release in the not too distant future, they mentioned that they're a cover band. It's what they're known by, but they have their original music too, and they find doing a cover way more intimidating than the original music, because it's their own. They know what they're doing. They wrote it, and when you have something that someone else has made a huge hit off of, that can be intimidating, trying to get that to across to fans. But it's established hit, so it's a double-edged sword, and it's always interesting to hear what the insight is that from any specific artist. Yeah,
it is. It's definitely something else, and I have another feeling when it comes to doing covers. Is lots of times I would actually feel a little bit more at ease, knowing that people already know the song, and it's something you can get out there, and people already like it, kind of thing. But then again, yes, getting it across perfectly, that can kind of switch the tides over. But with your own originals, you have this self-doubt of, okay, is it good? Will they think it's good? But then again, you just kind of have to snap out of it and be like, well, I wrote it because I like it. So. Right.
Switching gears again a little bit, so Thunder Bay's music community, and as we've been doing the show, we get to meet and kind of chat and share this with all sorts of musicians in the city. And the community just never fails to impress me on how welcoming and supportive they seem to be with everyone else. And you mentioned being a straight instrumental guy. You would think in a smaller town that would be a hard kind of community to build around, but there's the No Words concert that happens at Black Pirates every year, which is I think the second year in a row they did that this year, or maybe the third. Or might even be more than that. But Jean-Paul DeRover was kind of instrumental behind that. He does a lot of instrumental stuff, and there seems to be quite a few bands in town that are kind of getting into this type of thing. You don't need words to be wonderfully beautiful.
Yeah, it's I was at that show. I think it was either 5 or 7. I think the No Words have been going on there.
Okay, yeah, it's been wow.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, who knows how much it'll catch on, but I think there will always be the appreciation for the instrumentals. You know, even if you do listen a lot to lyrical music, even once in a while, you know, it's nice to hear the whole instrumental aspect on everything.
Right on. That is all the questions I have for today. I was going to come up with a silly one, but I'm just drawing a blank on that. So we'll leave it at that for today. But I do want to thank our sponsor and also... Here we go. Going to offer you this from our sponsor, Impact Promotions. Nice t-shirt.
Impact Promotions right here.
There we go. So
right
thanks
there.
a lot, Matt. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Yes.
Thanks for everyone that took the time to come in today and watch it, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Awesome.
Right on.
Right on.